This is the second tutorial in the Scratch series, and this is about independent movement, or how to make your sprites move without you pressing any keys whatsoever. If you're creating a game, you're going to have NPCs, or non-playing characters. These need to work independent of you to make the game interesting. We're going to start with the bird sprite. Go to Events and choose When Flag is Clicked, just like before. After that, we're going to go to the Motion menu and we're going to find Set Rotation so we know how our character is going to behave when he moves. In this case, we're going to set him to go left and right, but not up and down. After that, we're going to make sure he starts off in the right direction by going to Point in Direction 90 degrees. Now, after this, we're ready to start the movement. We go back to our old friend, the forever loop. And not using any if-thens this time, we're just going to tell it to move 10 steps. And we have to set a provision for what happens when he hits the wall. And in this case, it's very simple. If on edge, bounce. So after you set that up and click play, you'll see he just goes across and across and across and across. And he keeps on going until you stop the game. Another useful trick is to tell him where to start when the game starts, and you can use GoTo for that. Put it at the top and change the X and Y coordinates to 0, 0. That way, no matter where he ends the last game, when he starts the new game, he's going to start in the very center of the screen, like this. There he goes, jumping back to the center and moving back and forth like he did before. And you stop the game and move on to the next step, which is making him start off at an angle. If you point him in a direction that's not a cardinal direction, north, south, east, and west, he will start on an angle, which means he will move in a very different fashion. As you see, he goes around the screen now, but he's still jumping off the walls, just not in a straight line anymore. One interesting thing to notice is that the smaller the number you pick, the tighter the angle is going to be. For instance, I'm changing this now to 5 degrees. And you notice also that it's not changing yet. It's still going the same way. You have to stop it first and start it again. Now look at this angle. He's only shifting 5 degrees, which means he's moving in a very, very, very tight angle. The bigger the angle you make, the bigger the move he's going to make, and the opposite holds true. Not only does that hold true for the angles, but it also holds true for the speed as well. When you are in the move command, you can change the number to make the character move faster or slower. The lower the number, the slower he will go. The higher the number, the higher he will go. That's pretty high, so we're going to bring that back down again, just so we can make our game playable. But suppose you don't want your character to move in a predictable fashion. That's also important when you're making games, so we're going to go someplace we haven't been before. We're going to go to the Operations menu. Now these are advanced commands. We're not going to use them much, but we are going to use this one, which allows you to pick a random number. So in terms of speed, every time it runs through the loop, it'll pick a random number between the two numbers that you select in here, so that he will alternately move fast and slow. So if we click play, you'll see a kind of a herky-jerky motion, because sometimes he's moving slow and sometimes he's moving fast, although it is a little bit hard to tell with this. That's what's happening. So we stop that now, and we get to do the same thing with the way he moves, not just the speed he moves. So we go to the Motion menu and choose a Turn command, And instead of choosing a standard regular degree, we're going to pick a random number of degrees. Now you will have to play with this to see what range of numbers best suits your needs. But when we change the numbers here anywhere between 0 and 360, you will see what happens when I play now is that this character jumps all over the place. Okay, there's a lot of low numbers in there, which is why he's moving in such a tight fashion. If you make the numbers bigger, he'll make wider steps. As you'll see in a second after I change these numbers, he will be now moving all about the screen in a very hectic fashion. This may not be best for gameplay either, so you're going to have to find the numbers that you want to use to make him move the way you want him to move. There is another type of movement that doesn't quite fit into this tutorial, but I want to show you anyway. Set up your script like you usually do, going to when the flag is clicked, and then going down to Control and choosing a forever loop. However, this time we're going to go into motion, and we're going to point toward the mouse. Now, if I run it now, you'll see that wherever I'm moving the mouse, according to the rotation, he's going to point. But he's just pointing, so we have to move a move in there too. Now he will follow the mouse around the screen. I wonder if you can figure out a use for this command in a game situation. If you can, let me know. And now we're going to move to the last part of this tutorial. You will see that you don't have to have your character start at the beginning of the game. If you separate the commands and remove when flag is clicked, you can see you have other choices. For instance, the very next one says when the space bar is clicked. So now, if I join them and make a complete script, watch what happens when I press start. Nothing happens. However, when I click the space key on my computer, you're going to see that that is when he will start. Now he will not stop again when you press the space key. That's a different command, but we'll talk about that later. Now let me move my sprite back to on the screen, and we're going to separate again, and instead of when the space key is clicked, when the sprite is clicked. So now, instead of hitting the space key and nothing happening, we wait and click on the sprite. As soon as you click on the sprite will start moving again. There are all kinds of opportunities to use this in a game as well. Take a look at these other commands and see if you can figure out a use for them. And as usual, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. That's all for now. See you later.